Tom Kohne, coach for Steve Taylor's Community Connection. And, it's really an honor to be with this next gentleman, an extreme talent in our community, Darren Kohne. Darren, thank you for being here. And give you a little feel for the talents. Darren's NBA scout, college scout, high school scout, lives and breathes basketball. He's gotten hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of young people scholarships through recommendations of his evaluations on their talents and abilities. He's the lead announcer, color person on BCSN for basketball. Darren, there isn't much that you haven't done in basketball. Is there something else you're looking to do in basketball than what you're currently doing?
Well, I appreciate the intro. You make me sound important, but the one thing that you can maybe say is I've never been a referee other than at the YMCA, and I happened to referee one of your grandchild's games.
Oh, I did. That's right.
And,
yeah.
And I'll never do that again. Being a referee and the parents, you can't win. You're
I
always
only
gonna
yelled
get
at
a
you
bad
5
situation.
times, and I didn't throw the tomato.
Yeah.
Guy behind me threw it. I tried to deflect it actually, but no.
I appreciate that.
You've had, and we'll cover that real quick. That giving back, we don't have enough people giving back to refereeing. You know this. There's going to come a point in time, 4 or 5 years maybe, we don't have them. They're not there. So the fact that you're giving back your time as qualified and as advanced as you are to go down and do, a kid's game, that says volumes about you, and we appreciate that giving back to the community.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a key focus of mine, of being able to impact other people's lives in any way I can give back. I have a problem saying no. I probably need to learn to say no more, but I always say, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
It's no. That's because you're a good guy, and that's the bottom line. Darren, you've done so much in basketball. How has the game changed? Give us, you're so versed in all of the different levels. I know the three-point thing isn't obvious, it certainly changed the game quite significantly. But how has it changed in high school as you see it? How has it changed in college? And how has it changed in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we probably could talk about for hours, because there's so much. I think that the biggest thing in high school is there's a lot of pressure to be a year-round participant. So there's a lot of pressure.
Good or bad in your opinion?
In my opinion, not great, because I think, one, you need downtime, and
Yes.
2, I think you should be exposed to other activities,
Yes.
whether it's other
So
sports
glad
activities.
you said that.
But to go from your high school season to spring camps to then the AAU season to then
Yeah.
team camps, and
Yeah.
it just never ends. And then the other thing is, I think social media has had both positive and negative impacts.
Okay.
The positive that you can learn, you can watch drills, you can watch coaching, you
Right.
can watch your game almost instantaneously on social media. But it also puts a lot of pressure on young people to worry more about the me instead of the we and their brand, even though they may not even understand what that is yet. So there's a lot more attention on the self-promotion than there is about just developing your skill set and becoming a better player at the high school level. At the college level, I mean, that's been a whirlwind in the last few years.
Yes.
with there's
Players
always,
changing in and
sure,
out, revolving door.
Sure,
Right.
you've always been able to transfer to an extent, but now it's almost glorified with the
Yeah,
transfer
yeah.
portal aspect,
Yeah.
and then the NIL, where you're essentially getting paid to play. Again, it comes back to more about your individual brand and what you can get out of it individually in terms of what you can give to your university and your program. And there's goods and bads on both sides of the
Yes.
fence. I just think that the change happened so rapidly that it wasn't well controlled and monitored, and now they're playing backup, because it's hard to take back
And the
what's
same
been
thing in
given.
college football. They didn't think it out. Everyone's afraid of lawyers. We're a litigious society, so we make decisions on, well, are we going to get sued? Are we going to, instead of just making a decision on, this is right for the kid, this is right for the program, this is right for the parents, the overriding thing is, hey, we're going to get sued. Do what's right.
No question. The wrong people made the decisions early on.
Yeah.
And it's really changed the game of college. And then in terms of NBA, I think the biggest difference is, one, it's global now, where
Right.
they used to say it was global, but now it's global. There's more TV ad and apparel revenue outside the United States than there is. And then
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then the change of the pace of the game with the spacing,
Yeah.
Until recently, not as much use inside with the true center, and then the bombarding of the three-point shot now.
Would you be in favor of, I always wondered if maybe you could limit the number of threes in a game, because sometimes it gets ridiculous, and they're shooting 70 threes in one team. Would it work to say, all right, you're going to get 30 threes, where you use them, they keep track. You know, if you want to save them for the end of the game to catch up, or is there something like that it could be controlled, or is that a no-go?
I mean, I've never heard anyone with that thought process, but it's an interesting point because the game has just changed so much. I would just like to see coaches take a little bit more control on who can shoot those threes. Like if Steph Curry wants to shoot 73s a game, let him do it if his arm doesn't fall off. But there's other guys that probably shouldn't be touching them.
Darren, I once had my college basketball coach tell me, you never, ever take a shot outside to see this little thing called a key. You're 3 or 4 feet around the basket. He said, that's it. That's your shot chart, and I understood that. Yep. I got the deal. Something else interesting, Darren, you have such a good perspective when you're talking about I and we and team. It's funny to do an analogy about basketball, comparing it to baseball, but I look at the Tigers this year, and I've watched them pretty closely. And they have young talent. Great. Yes, young talent. But there's a chemistry on that team. They care for one another. They root for one another. They're not jealous of each other. And they're not bombarding the manager with, hey, I want to get in. I got to play. When your time is called, when Hinch calls their name, they go in and they play hard. I think those kinds of attitudes could help all sport if you could develop that. Because a lot of times it's, hey, what about me? I need to be, you're not always going to be the star, right?
Right.
You can't always be the star.
I mean, I think that's the hardest job of a coach at any level right now, is getting people to truly buy in. I know that sounds cliche,
no,
but nobody wants to do it anymore. And you referenced the Tigers, which is fantastic, but what's going on right now with the NBA playoffs?
Yeah.
And it's harder to always quantify at the professional level.
Right.
But I think that's what's happening with the Indiana Pacers. They're going to be playing for an NBA championship, and they're nowhere near the top 4, 5, 6 most talented teams. Matter of fact, their best player has been, touted in the media as being overrated, but they have a team where, 1 through 10, when they get their name called, they come in and they contribute for each other. And I think we're seeing, kind of the less is more situation. Nobody, a month ago anticipated the Indiana Pacers being in the NBA Finals.
That's a great analogy.
And it's great what you're saying. The Tigers are early in the regular season, but then it'll really flush out when you get into those postseason series, and it's, win or go home type of scenario.
And you've done so much coaching with young kids, and it's hard to get past. They were good at this level. Maybe they were the go-to person in their grade school team or the go-to person in their high school team. But each level you go to, the competition gets better, and you're not going to be the guy most times. So then what do? Do you cry? Do you pout? You put your head down? Do you become a problem on the team? Or do you say, Coach, what do you want me to do? How can I help the team? Okay, it's rebounding. That's what I do. Okay, then I'll rebound. You're not going to get many shots, but rebound, and you can help us win. Getting people to buy into roles. Ed Heinzel, and you know Ed very well, at St. John's, that I think was the key to his entire program. He got kids to buy into, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to do, and you're all important to us, and we need every one of you, but you're not going to be taking the most shots. And he was great at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Coach Heinzel specifically, I think his best talent was getting his best player to understand that. It's always, a challenge to get your mid-level players to buy into roles, but when he would have like elite players that could average 25 and say, hey, we're going to win more if you average 16.
Yeah. And that's a hard concept to get through to somebody, right?
No question, because you could go down the street to another school and average 25.
I might get 30 a game, On the way out, Coach, you talk about drills on YouTube and so forth, those Pete Maravich drills. Oh my gosh.
The pistol.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe he's doing the stuff that he was doing every day in those drills. How can a young basketball player help themselves the most in your eye? What would you say? What should they be? They want to be good. What should they be doing? Young kid.
Yeah, so I was actually told this when I was about 20 years old, and it didn't really make sense at the time, but it made perfect sense soon after. I think when you're young, you're evaluated on this wide spectrum, and you alluded to it. The higher up you go levels,
there's a new talent level.
It comes down to a microscope, and your flaws are magnified, right? Because you got to be a specialist.
Your flaws are magnified.
And I think instead of learning the tricks of the trade, how to self-promote yourself, how to get to the next level, how to get on the shoe-branded AAU team, it's just learn the trade itself. Like work on your weaknesses, work on your skill set, become a well-rounded jack of all trades player, where whatever role you're given the opportunity to fit in, you can fill that role. And I think that's the problem is, you know, you get everyone's great right now. If you can find rankings of 8th graders right now, you're like, huh? But then as that microscope zooms in at the high school, varsity, college, professional level, you know, how can you add value and how can you help your team win as opposed to just how can you make a highlight?
Yeah, that's so very interesting. When I went to college and played football, and you know the coaches do, you recruit people, you know how. And he says you're going to be the guy. You know, I went home and told my mom. I said I'm going to be the guy.
Be the guy.
I'm the guy. I guess that's pretty good, right? As opposed to not being the guy, right? So we show up the first day of doubles in college. They can't, you know, on the field. We show up and they go quarterbacks over here, and I'm looking around and there's 12 of the guys. And I said, you know, hey mom, maybe I'm not the guy. You know, there's 12 of us, you know. So you do have to understand your role and what you're going to do. And coach, you've helped so many young people be successful in basketball. Keep it up. Keep up the great work on BCSN. You're doing tremendous work with them, and you make a difference every day in our basketball community. Thank you, Darren.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's our honor. Tom Kohne, coach for Steve Taylor's Community Connection.